A lot of people have been asking me, so I figured it would be time to weigh in on the anti-snoring chin strap or jaw strap and be able to let you know, does this thing work? Is it worth the hassle? Is it worth the $9? And what the research says, and more importantly, what is something that you can do that mimics the effects but does it even better at a fraction of the cost, even no cost to you. So make sure you stick with me throughout this entire thing because I'm also willing to get a computer virus to help educate you on all these different things. So what the heck is this thing? It is a chin strap that you put around your face. Also a great device if you're tired of talking to your partner at night. I really recommend using this because then you just can't speak and it allows for so much better interactions. I'm just joking. But let's go ahead and look at what this says on Amazon.com for the listing. And what it's demonstrating here is that you just put this on your head, helps keep your chin in. Here's how it would work. Effectively making sure that your chin stays in the place, and I'll show you a graphic on that in a moment. But nonetheless, if we look at the ratings here, 3.3 overall, there's going to be some people who are like, this is great. Some people who nothing at all, and it's just a cheap piece of fabric. Now, why that may be, we want to be able to look at some of the advertisements we find on this. And again, this is me sacrificing my technological safety to show you because you're going to see this website here. You will find some very interesting things on the internet. So here's a website that totally does not look sketchy. I mean, they could have made this look a little bit better, but they have some great graphics on here. So summer sale, wow, that's great. So the reason I'm risking it all on this website, which has these great graphics, is it demonstrates how the chin strap works. So the problem that can be with sleep apnea is that you breathe through your mouth and then this actually leads to you stop breathing because it's less efficient breathing. So it takes your chin, brings it forward, then this allows nasal breathing to happen. That's the general premise of how it works. But is that actually true? And is that what this really does? So when we look at the research, it all started in this study in 2007. This is a case study on a 75-year-old retired physician who was having issues with sleep apnea, snoring, and all of that, very, very sleepy. And what they did was they attached a very similar apparatus, a chin strap, and this is what happened. They took his airway from this, where it's nice and closed or very closed off, and very close to just being fully obstructed, to being able to be more open. They actually did an endoscopy, obviously, to be able to show this. This is when he doesn't have the chin strap. This is when he has a chin strap. This will obviously lead to more apneas because if your airways are a little bit close together, they're about to be shut off. If they're more open, then far less likely, exponentially less likely to be shut off. And this is why this one individual had a lot of improvement in his symptoms and his sleep quality and less snoring. However, when we take it and look at a actual study, because one person having one result is good, but it's not going to represent the overall picture. Because once again, that was his n equals 1, which is important for him in his circumstance. I'm not saying it didn't work, but you need to be able to see bigger numbers and then decide, am I going to invest my time and effort? Because if it works at a higher scale, it could be a higher probability that it could work for you, or it could show you that it's a lower probability it could work for your n equals 1. It's always about individualization. I'm not here to poo-poo the chin strap, just here to give you an accurate picture. So this study done in 2014. There's no further follow-up from this date. So in this study, they took 26 adults with obstructive sleep apnea and they put them into a sleep lab and they wanted to see what were the changes in breathing and sleep quality when they're wearing a chin strap versus not wearing a chin strap in the same night. Basically, they took them, put them in bed, put a chin strap on, monitored them. 2 hours later, it was taken off. They monitored them again. What is the difference? Because if our hypothesis or our guess or our estimate of what's going to happen, we predict that a chin strap would lead to changes. It would decrease AHI, it would improve breathing. What they found was that there was no significant difference between having a chin strap on or having a chin strap off in these 26 individuals as a whole. We want to consider what I just told you is the numbers from the group overall. What about the individual responses? That's important to look at. And what's great about this study is they actually show that. They show the changes from at baseline without a chin strap to using a chin strap. And over here on the right is when they put them on a CPAP where their AHI went. Not really relevant because that's not what we're talking about. We're not comparing CPAP to chin strap. We're just saying chin straps, yes or no, do they work? And what they find is a very individual response pattern. So for some people, at baseline, their AHI went up with using a chin strap. There are other people who, we look at this line here, it went from here down to there. So there's a lot of individual variation with this. Overall, if you average it out, there's no difference. But there are still a few people who have some change in a positive direction with this. And that's what we also pick out from this big old spaghetti plot of before and afters here. Looking at these graphs, it's not for the faint of heart. You just need to sit down and be willing to stare at some lines for quite some time. But the point being is that average it out, no difference. You look at it a little bit more closely. Some people have slight differences, some people none, some people get worse. So you want to keep that in mind if you're going to consider a chin strap. But here's the thing you really want to consider is the truth about mouth breathing, because it's not as simple as we're breathing through our mouths and if we close it off, we fix the problem. That's not really the thing, because our body is choosing to breathe through the mouth or the nose. It's not really a choice, actually. It's not like, oh, I'm going to breathe through my nose or through my mouth. What happens, and we'll actually demonstrate this together, which will be really interesting, is when you're inhaling, the different forces, the velocity of air, negative pressure in the oral cavity, that will lead automatically to either breathing through your nose or breathing through your mouth. So the decision, it's not really a decision at all by your body. It's just the physical nature of the negative pressure that happens from an inhale. So think of it like this. You have a vacuum in your chest known as your lungs and your diaphragm. When it expands, it actually pulls air into you. That's how it works. The rate at which this air is pulled and the resistance in your airways, that will determine mouth or nasal breathing. That what was demonstrated in this paper. That's a lot more complicated. Pineapple. And that's just summarizing the findings from this paper. It's a lot more complicated if you choose to read that. But effectively, what you want to know is that when the demand for air increases, like exercise, certain stages of sleep, anxiety, the velocity of the air through the nose increases. This leads to higher resistance, and don't worry, I'll graph out what this means in a moment here. That leads to higher resistance, which creates a negative pressure gradient along the upper airway. We'll break this down, don't worry. As a result, the mouth will automatically open from that force. It's not a choice by you or consciously or subconsciously. So this is the problem with just either using a chin strap or mouth tape or something else. The problem comes from the breathing pattern and the resistance in the airway. So you need to be able to fix that, right? And just to graph this out so you understand it, what happens? Just to get the physics here. You're breathing, and let's say it gets really, really fast. You're breathing through your nose, resistance is going up, and then, just like a weather pattern map here, you're going to get a lot of negative pressure here. And what that means is there's a vacuum, a local vacuum in this area that will lead to air wanting to flow through in this direction towards the back. This is what happens. You get fast inhale, a lot of resistance, a lot of narrowing in your airway, and then you will have negative pressure that will pull air through your mouth. It has no choice but to do that based on laws of physics. So the easy explanation for this, before we test this together, think of it like a straw versus drinking out of a cup. If you want a lot of liquid in a short amount of time and you are using a straw, there's going to be a certain limitation to how much liquid you can get through here. Then the easy option is to use something with a bigger size, a bigger caliber of the airway, like a cup, to get more of that water in there. That's the more analogy way of thinking about it, but we can also test this together live. We're going to now prove flow velocities and all of that. Stick with me here, my friend. So I want you to inhale through your nose. Just focus on inhaling through your nose fast. Okay, that's step one. So step two is in the middle of this fast inhale through your nose. I want you to focus on almost pulling your cheeks together like this. All right. Pulling those cheeks together, that's that negative vacuum. You're strengthening the force of the vacuum in your oral cavity. And then we'll see what happens. Maybe you can watch and then you can rewind if you want to. If you do this correctly, which can take a few tries, but you'll find your mouth kind of pop open. Okay, so 3, 2, 1, fast inhale. Do it again, fast inhale. That's how it happens. Because naturally, if you don't have that fast inhale in the background, if we're just going like this, you don't have that negative pressure to pop your mouth open. So that's how it works. You have that kind of pop open that happens. And that's fundamentally why you mouth breathe at night. That's why you mouth breathe at night. Forcing your mouth closed or taping it or whatever, it doesn't really fix the underlying problem. What does is what we're going to talk about. 2 birds, 1 stone. I should have wrote 1 straw. I really missed out on that opportunity, but nonetheless, you're going to get your handy dandy burger straw, I suppose. I just got that from Google. You're going to get your metal straw or a plastic straw. Either one works. I just like a metal straw. Just feel fancy with it. And what we're going to do is a very simple exercise where you're going to inhale through your nose for a 5 count. And then what you're going to do is you're actually going to exhale out of this straw and try to cover up as much as you can of this straw. You're going to barely leave enough opening for air to go out, and you're going to have to actively exhale against this. The point of this exercise is that by doing this slower breathing cadence, because if you notice, if we count in for 5 seconds, out for 15 seconds, you're going to breathe 3 times per minute. Like normal baseline is around 12 for people. So by training yourself to be a lot slower, then you'll breathe more slowly, you'll reprogram, and you'll start to reduce that really fast inhale that creates that suction force in your mouth. And the other aspect is then when you're exhaling through a very, very narrow, like pinhole almost, this is going to train those lip muscles to be a little bit tighter. Because yes, I did say the main thing is to reduce the speed in which you breathe, but if you have weaker lips, you're that much more likely to pop your mouth open. So we're working on it from both ways in a way that's actually very natural and really the better way to do it. So we'll do this a few times. If you don't have a straw right now, you can just make a note to do this later. Try it out next time you have a straw in your possession. So inhale for 5 through your nose. And then you're going to exhale for 15 through a very narrow airway through your mouth. Well, I guess I'm not counting, but you get the idea. And you're big boys and big girls, and you can count by yourself at your own leisure later. And doing this for about 5 minutes. If you find it becoming too difficult, you can just decrease the number of counts you're having for the exhale. That simple. Altogether, with the chin strap, it could work. We really have no idea unless you're going to try it. But honestly, the better way is to address the underlying issue in the breathing pattern of everything going on with your nose and with your mouth. Now, of course, is there a way to kickstart nasal breathing even faster? Because if you did, that would fix that issue, and then you don't have to mess around with chin straps, mouth tape, or anything else. So that's why in the next episode, I'm going to cover nasal dilators for sleep apnea. Looks really great. If it's already available, go ahead and just click on that. If not, just make sure you subscribe so you do not miss a beat and be able to make sure you catch that episode. And whenever you want to stop messing around with a lot of band-aids and fix sleep apnea once and for all, I'm also here for you. And that starts with your free evaluation session by clicking a button on the screen. I think it's usually above my head here. Or you can just go to ochnow.com/talk. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll talk to you soon.